has been about a little over 3 years now, about 2021 when it happened, when Gina Carano was actually, it's been about 2 years now, was unceremoniously fired from Star Wars. At that point in time, I gave up Star Wars completely. Refused to watch it. I still haven't even watched the OT ever again. I have the VHS, the one of the VHS trilogy box sets of the Star Wars OT, and I loved watching it. I love those movies. I do enjoy those movies. I can't watch them because I refuse to interact with anything Star Wars. And I get it. Adam, my buddy, the Renaissance nerd, tells me all the time, eventually I'll get that itch and I'll want to watch them again. I don't know if I ever will. I don't do many Star Wars videos on this channel because I am so sickened by Disney Star Wars. It makes me sick to my stomach. And what they did to Gina Carano still infuriates me. But hey, they decided to come out and open up their big mouth. So let's talk about it. The Mandalorian directors break silence following Gina Carano's firing. That's right. Star Wars directors Rick, I'm not even going to try, opened up for the first time about Gina Carano absence as Cara Dune in season 3 of Mandalorian, which is going to be very apparent because she was a very pivotal character to the story. She was important. She was helpful. The world was being set up for her own story, her own show. But because you guys don't like true diversity, don't like strong, independent women, don't like women with their own thoughts, you fired her. How's that faring out for you guys? How have the last couple of Disney Star Wars things done? How is Mandalorian tracking, by the way? I refuse to watch the show. I refuse to review the show. I refuse to interact with the show in any way, shape, or form. I'd rather watch EFAP destroy it than ever touch it again. But let's get into what was said. Speaking with Deadline, Star Wars director Rick, not even going to try, and executive producer Dave Filoni spoke for the first time about Gina Carano's firing from The Mandalorian after playing the role of Cara Dune in the series' first 2 seasons. While Dune is still part of the world off camera, not even going to try, Rick explained that the character came up often in discussions with show creator Jon Favreau, who's a wimp, and Filoni, making it clear that Din Djarin and Grogu are still at the heart of the show. I don't care about Din. I don't care about Pedro Pascal's character. I don't care about the psychopathic, genocidal monster Grogu. Okay? Those weren't the characters I ended up liking. I liked Gina Carano. I liked Cara Dune. She had an interesting story, an interesting background, and was a character I wanted to see continue on. But because she had some thoughts outside the allowed spectrum, because she was actually a person that didn't fully agree with you guys on every little thing, you fired her. You ended up firing what was supposedly a pivotal character. But let's see what they actually said. Cara was a big part of the continues as a character to be part of the world. It had to be addressed in the creative, and Jon Favreau took the time to think about that. It was something that was discussed as we knew it was going to have impact on the show. But at the same time, what has been at the heart of the show are the 2 characters, Din Djarin and Grogu. So ultimately, it felt like a servicing of that, and around the Mandalorians. Listen, the show's not about Gina Carano. The show's never been about Gina Carano. We get it. She's been very pivotal to the story. She's been helpful to the story in more ways than one. There's a lot of times where Gina Carano's character has actually saved Din Djarin and was assisting in major freaking ways, was being set up to have her own show. But she was fired and we don't really know what we're doing. Moving on. When asked if Dune is simply out of the universe bounty hunting, Filoni explained that there are so many characters to touch on, but he called Dune a great character and someone who was vital to Din Djarin's beginnings and was still vital at the time. She was a part of the final episode of season 2 when you had to key jangle. You had to bring in Luke Skywalker, give us what we wanted, and then subsequently, after you successfully bring everybody back, you start bringing people back. They're seeing what they like. They believe in what you're doing. You then pull the rug out from under them. She was important to the story. She helped. Let's be real. She was leading Din Djarin around half the time. She was doing all the heavy lifting. She was a freaking badass. But hey, well, why look at logic? Why look at anything like that? Why look at what you guys were actually putting out? It's a big galaxy. No, it's not. It feels really small. And we have many characters in it. Many characters are fighting off their screen time. We'll just have to see as the season unfolds what the adventures are. But it's a great character, someone who was vital to Din Djarin's beginnings. We'll see if he has evolved beyond that. He really needed her a lot of times. He kept going to her. And a big galaxy, funny. I see the same characters over and over and over again. Book of Boba Fett towards the end just became Mando season 3. We see the same characters over and over and over again. We see the same planets over and over and over again. This is not a big galaxy. This is a very small galaxy. One of the biggest complaints to Star Wars and Star Wars right now, Disney Star Wars, is how small it is. When asked if Dune is simply out of the big galaxy, Filoni moved further into season 3 by touching on how many Mandalorians will play a part of the story, noting that there are characters like that take a lot more prominence when it comes to Mando and Grogu's story. Now, season 3 is mainly dealing with Mandalorians and the Mandalorian saga, the Mandalorian tale. There's different characters he's met. Why can't I read that right? Since Bo-Katan, who take a lot more prominence, which makes sense where his arc is going. The story of him and Grogu specifically. I don't care though. This goes to one of my biggest complaints with Disney Star Wars right now. They don't know what the audience wants. They're making all this stuff not for the audience. They're making it for them. They don't care about Star Wars. They've never cared about Star Wars. Filoni, major beta, created possibly one of my favorite parts of Star Wars. I do like the Clone Wars. I will say it. I like the Clone Wars. I think that I can never remember the guy. The other Clone Wars animated bits from the guy that made Samurai Jack and also was doing Primal on Adult Swim. I do like his Clone Wars too. I think that works a little bit better in the world. I like the Clone Wars for another thing that it achieves though is some character development that I really do enjoy. I like character development. I like being able to know my characters. That's one of my biggest complaints with The Last of Us is I've never got a character development from between Pedro Pascal and Ellie's character. What Ellie's actress, I don't really care anymore, but I like to know my characters. I want to know what my characters are doing, what they think, how they feel in these moments. I like to know who they are. And I don't get that. Okay? I got that in Filoni, in the Clone Wars. I got that there. That's what I enjoyed. When I take a look at this, though, I don't care about these other Mandalorians. I don't care about Din Djarin, Pedro Pascal. I don't care about Grogu, who's a genocidal maniac. I cared about Gina Carano's Cara Dune. I thought there was a story there to tell. There was a very interesting story there to tell. You guys were hinting at a story there to tell. And by God, you fired the only actress that was worth her weight in gold. And you have a bunch of weirdos always coming out and saying, no, she was fired because she was bigot. She was fired for causing misinformation. She was a bad person. She should have just played ball. Now she's living a crappy life. And it's like, what would you rather live, a free life or live in a life filled with being told what to think and say all the time? Gina Carano is a bigger actress now that she's gone. Bigger in a more different kind of sense. You can be big and have tons of money, but be unhappy. She's happy now. She's doing her own thing, and that's what everybody should want to do. Gina Carano has tons of people willing to back her no matter what she does. And you guys lost that. Because of her firing, Disney Star Wars is in a worse position now than it has ever been. Nobody cares about Book of Boba Fett. When Mando Season 3 was announced, there were people on Twitter questioning, why is Grogu back? He left at the end of after the Season 2. He was gone. That means people didn't really watch Book of Boba Fett. Now, does it? Nobody cared about Andor. Nobody watched Andor. That's why it was getting thrown out on terrestrial television. These shows aren't working. Disney Star Wars is practically dead. And it all stems from 1, sequel trilogy, and 2, firing of Gina Carano. That's just my opinion, though. Let me get you guys' thoughts down in the comments below. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, share it out with friends, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell for every time I put out a new video and go live, guys. And I'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.